Hey there folks, Zane from the Infinite Jukebox, aka the #1 Irreversible Entanglements fan, here with another quick album review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Moor record, The Great Bailout. If you go into the average music nerd circle, the average music nerd group, chances are Moor is an artist most known for her 2020 collaboration with underground rapper Billy Woods, Brass, a great record in its own right, but I would go as far as to argue that the vast majority of her other work, namely her solo work, has gone fairly underappreciated over time. Everything from 2016's hyper-industrial, noise-based Fetish Bones to the deeply spiritual free jazz record from 2020, Circuit City, that she put out, she has a pretty deep catalog with a huge amount of variety that constantly feels provoking in the best way that it possibly could. Besides being a wildly prolific experimentalist in terms of sounds and styles and in terms of poetics, Moor is perhaps more prominently one of the most impressive and accomplished activists and political artists within experimental music at the moment, and she has been for years at this point. She's unquestionably, even on her weaker records, one of the most passionate and most striking figures within the entire realm of sound art and various other niches within the realm of experimentation in music that you can possibly stumble across, and that's true for the vast majority of the work that she's put out over the course of the past decade or so. Coming off of her very abstract and very surreal 2022 record Jazz Codes is her latest studio album, The Great Bailout, which may honestly be one of the most striking albums I've heard all year so far, and I'm just going to get it out of the way and say it now, I'm not giving this album a rating. Now you may be wondering, Zane, why are you reviewing this album if you're not going to give it a rating? That's stupid. Does that not defeat the point of you reviewing this, since you give ratings to literally everything else except like 4 other albums in your nearly 600 videos you've uploaded reviewing music? Yeah, that is true. I do rate the vast majority of things out there. However, this record is not appropriate to give a rating in my opinion, and let me explain why. To read directly from Moor, or more specifically her own website promoting this record, The Great Bailout is an expansive meditation that acts as a non-linear word map about colonialism, slavery, and commerce in Great Britain. So, as you can tell based on that description alone, this is a deeply serious, deeply uncomfortable, and deeply moving record. I don't think I really need to explain why. I don't think I really need to sit here and explain why discussing the historical common quality of racial injustice across the entire planet is something that's important to discuss, and if I really do, then I highly suggest you read a history book. But I do want to discuss what this album is, why it's so striking, why I think it's one of the most important and deeply moving albums of the year, and also why I will probably never listen to it ever again. While the phrase sound art is something that I only throw around when I don't really have a better descriptor for something that's highly experimental, and I generally don't use it because I think something is actually describable as sound art, I think that this record might actually be describable as sound art. This record is completely non-traditional in every sense of musical structure, in every sense of delivery, and it's better off for it, in my opinion, with its constant experimentations with very natural sounding atmospheres, very uncomfortable and unnerving, almost somewhat sinister atmospheres that honestly accurately reflect a lot of the historical tragedy that this record is deeply empowered by and at times basically entirely driven by. And at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of the musical qualities going on here are just completely unique from anything else I've heard so far this year. I mean, this is a record that feels dark, it feels corrupt, it feels sinister, like I said, but at the same time, all of that is essential in discussing what is being discussed here. This is not an album to take lightly in terms of topic, in terms of thematics. This is a deeply serious, deeply political, and deeply genuine record that looks directly into the heart of history and doesn't move a muscle, doesn't blink, doesn't do anything at all except stare directly into the eyes of, well, a lot of really horrible things. I think that choosing to have the absolutely stunning performance work of Lonnie Hawley on the album opening track Guilty, which is a very extensive and at times deeply powerful track, I think that was a great idea. Lonnie Hawley is an absolutely stunning vocalist, and I'm always happy to see more from him, especially this late in his career at this point. He's a phenomenal performer, and the choice to close out the album with the absolutely grim but stunning poetry of the track South Sea in all of its 9-minute glory is nothing short of striking. However, I also want to say why this is the kind of record that you can't just revisit. I mean, you can revisit it if you want. If this is the kind of thing that you like to listen to on a daily basis, go for it, dude. That's awesome. I'm super glad that you're connecting with something that you can listen to every single day. But to me, a record like this is more of a historical document almost than it is anything that you can consistently listen to. I almost don't want to review this, but chose to because I want to introduce more people to it, because of the fact that this feels more like a deeply powerful essay than it does a traditional record. I have a difficult time putting it into words other than to say that I feel like this is an album that needs to be made, and that albums like this need to be made. Records that genuinely confront history and don't put that in front of any sort of musical backing that feels like it's meant to attract any sort of casual music listening audience. This is not the kind of album that's trying to go for commercial appeal or anything like that. This is using the power of art to represent and accurately, genuinely, earnestly look at a history of suffering, a history of bigotry, and a history of hatred throughout the entirety of Great Britain. And if that makes you uncomfortable, if that's something that freaks you out, if that makes this a difficult listen for you, then good, because that's the point. This is just a damn fearless album. It's a record that I don't think has any qualms with being completely genuine in talking about history, and I can appreciate a record like that no matter how devastating it can be to listen to. That being said, with it being as devastating as it is, I don't see myself revisiting it a ton. But like I said, I wanted to make this video even though I'm not giving it a rating, even though I'm probably not going to listen to it much ever again outside of when I'm really in the mood for something really powerful like this, I wanted to make this video because with this channel, I hope to introduce people to more music that they may not have heard, to introduce people to the kind of stuff that they may not necessarily be into. I hope a metalhead goes on my channel and discovers a pop album they really like. I hope a huge electronic fan goes on my channel and discovers a death metal album they really like, etc., etc. That's what I want to achieve for the most part with my channel, just to introduce people to artistic expression that they may not have been exposed to otherwise. And that's why I'm making this video. If you are watching this and you are somehow still at this point of the video and this far into my absolute ramblings about this record, I implore you to go seek this record out, to go listen to it. And if this is the kind of record that you don't want to listen to because it feels like it's going to make you uncomfortable, if it's going to unnerve you, then I would say listen to it anyway, because this isn't the kind of album that should make you uncomfortable. It's an important album. And it's an album that I genuinely think most, if not every person, should hear at some point or another. This isn't going to land on my best of list at the end of the year because putting it in any sort of ranking feels disrespectful for the content within it. I don't think, again, I'm not going to give this a rating because it feels odd to even dare give this a rating. So my rating will be go listen to this. Go listen to this record and experience it. That's my rating. I don't care how much death metal, how much grindcore came out this year, this will most likely end up being the single heaviest record of the entirety of 2024. So with that being said, that is the end of this quick album review that really wasn't so quick. I have been Zane from the Infinite Jukebox. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.